Mark had always thought of love as a fortress. He and Sarah had built theirs brick by brick over 7 wonderful years. Their home was filled with laughter, shared dreams, and the comforting scent of Sarah's favorite lavender candles. To him, their bond was unbreakable, a testament to what true partnership looked like. He was the kind of man who bragged about his wife to his friends, not about her looks, but about her kindness, her intelligence, her unwavering support. For Mark, forever wasn't just a word. It was a promise he intended to keep for the rest of his life. He remembered the day he proposed. It was a simple picnic in the park, where they had their first date. No grand gestures, just two hearts beating in unison. When he got down on one knee, Sarah's eyes filled with tears of joy. "Yes, 1,000 times yes," she had whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. That moment was etched in his memory, a perfect snapshot of a love he believed was pure and eternal. Their wedding was a small, intimate affair, surrounded by their closest friends and family. They vowed to be each other's rock, in sickness and in health, for better or for worse. Mark had never felt a moment of doubt. Sarah was his beginning and his end. Life with Sarah was a comfortable rhythm. He'd wake up to the smell of coffee brewing, find little notes she'd leave on the fridge, and end his day with her head resting on his shoulder as they watched a movie. They were a team. When he was struggling to get his small graphic design business off the ground, she was his biggest cheerleader, working extra shifts as a nurse to keep them afloat. And when her father fell ill, he drove her back and forth to her parents' house, holding her hand through every difficult conversation. They were more than just husband and wife. They were best friends who had weathered every storm together, or so he thought. The first crack in their fortress appeared subtly. It wasn't a loud explosion, but a quiet, almost imperceptible shift. Sarah started working longer hours. "We're short-staffed," she'd say with a tired sigh. And Mark, ever the supportive husband, would simply nod and make sure dinner was warm for her when she got home. Then came the new work friends. Her phone, which used to be left casually on the coffee table, was now always with her, face down or in her purse. When he'd ask who she was texting so late, she'd wave it off. Just the girls from the hospital, coordinating shifts. He wanted to believe her. He needed to believe her. Pushing his doubts aside, he told himself he was just being paranoid. After all, trust was the foundation of their fortress. The texts became more frequent, often accompanied by a secretive smile that wasn't meant for him. She started going out for girls' nights more often, coming home in the early hours of the morning smelling of unfamiliar perfume and cheap bar cocktails. One night he woke up at 2 a.m. and she wasn't there. Panic seized him. He called her phone, and it went straight to voicemail. He paced the living room for what felt like an eternity, until she finally walked in at 3:30, looking flushed and flustered. "My phone died," she explained breathlessly. "We lost track of time at karaoke." He looked into her eyes, searching for the Sarah he knew, but saw a stranger looking back. The doubt he had been suppressing roared to life. A week later, his world shattered. It was a Thursday, their anniversary. Mark had planned a surprise. He left work early, picked up a bouquet of her favorite peonies, and booked a table at the Italian restaurant where they had their first anniversary dinner. He texted her, "Can't wait to see you tonight, my love. I have a surprise for you." Her reply was cold and distant. "Can't. Have to cover a last-minute shift. Rain check?" Disappointment washed over him, but he tried to be understanding. He decided to surprise her at the hospital instead, maybe bring her some food and the flowers. He thought it would be a romantic gesture, a way to show her he was thinking of her. He had no idea he was walking into the final scene of his marriage. He pulled into the hospital parking lot and saw her car. A wave of relief washed over him. At least she was here. But as he walked toward the main entrance, he saw her. She was standing near the staff exit, not in her scrubs, but in a dress he'd never seen before. She wasn't alone. A tall man in a suit had his arm wrapped around her waist. Mark froze, his heart pounding in his ears. He watched as the man leaned down and kissed her, a long, passionate kiss that stole the air from Mark's lungs. Sarah melted into the embrace, her hand stroking the back of the man's neck. It was a gesture of intimacy Mark knew all too well, a gesture that had once been reserved only for him. The bouquet of peonies slipped from his grasp, scattering onto the cold, unforgiving pavement. The vibrant pink petals looked like drops of blood against the dark asphalt. He couldn't breathe. The scene played out in slow motion, a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. Sarah pulled away, laughing, her face illuminated by the glow of the streetlights. It was a carefree laugh, a sound he hadn't heard from her in months. And in that moment, he understood. The late nights, the secret texts, the distance, it all clicked into place. His fortress hadn't just been cracked, it had been demolished. He turned and walked away, his body moving on autopilot. He didn't know where he was going. The city lights blurred through his tear-filled eyes. The man who believed in forever was now lost in a single devastating night. The love he had cherished, the future he had planned, all of it had turned into a cold, harsh reality. He drove for hours with no destination, the silence in the car screaming louder than any words. He looked at his own reflection in the rearview mirror and saw a ghost. That night, Mark didn't just lose his wife. He lost the part of himself that believed in fairy tales. The days that followed were a blur of grief and anger. The confrontation was quiet and devastating. She didn't deny it. The words, "I'm sorry," felt hollow, meaningless. The fortress was gone, and all that remained were the ruins of a 7-year love story. But amidst the rubble, Mark knew he had to rebuild. Not a fortress of love for someone else, not yet, but a shelter for himself. A place where he could heal, piece by piece, and learn to trust in himself again. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but he had taken the first step by walking away from the lie. He had to believe that one day he could find a new kind of forever, one built on the solid ground of truth and self-respect. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this story with me. It's a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we have the strength to find our way back to the light. If you connected with this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Your support means the world. Stay strong and take care.